all I guess I can say is I think that if I were in the presence of God or Messiah, I think I would know it. But I'm not sure, Richard. I'm not sure. If I were to go to Africa and I were to get an audience with this Olumba
Olumba
Obu, I have a feeling that if he was who he says he is, I would know that. But I'm not sure. How about you?
I honestly don't know. But I'm intrigued enough with this synchronicity that I'm going to pursue more information.
Yeah, okay. Well, we'll leave it there. I don't know why. I really don't know why I was compelled to put the guy on the air. It was just something about my brief conversation with him earlier that made me think, I don't know, there's something here.
Well, let's pursue it with an open mind and make no decisions, because obviously there's a lot of ways you can reference what he's describing without getting all the way to the ultimate, explanation.
Sure.
To me, it's the synchronicity. It's almost like there's an important part of history that maybe this tribe has to tell the world, has to tell all of us, and we should be humble enough to keep asking the right questions, making no decisions yet.
But this was, in other words, you're saying there was a complete behind-the-scenes investigation that you were conducting, secret.
Absolutely.
There was no communication with this fellow I just put on the air?
None.
None.
None. And when you came on tonight, and at the top of the show, the part that a lot of the country doesn't hear, announced that you were planning to go to Africa, and you had considered seriously Nigeria.
Yeah.
That was an even further level of the synchronicity.
Well, as you well know, that part of the world is not exactly really calm right now.
No, and I would be very careful before I actually decided to go there. In fact, one of the things that we had decided not to do, based on expert advice that I've been getting, is not to go there. Even before this phone call took place, if I had ever wanted to go to Nigeria, I wouldn't go this year because of the unrest.
Yeah. I've come really close to saying I want to go anyway. I got advised against it. Even the State Department now is advising against doing such a thing. But of course, this is a very strong reason to want to go. Oh, man, life is so strange. All right. Hey, by the way, while I've got you on the line, even though this is just a short visit, what else is new?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm really focused on trying to organize this. Obviously, something of this magnitude, given that we have about 6 months, is not easy to put together. Through another synchronous set of meetings, I met exactly the right individual to help me craft this. And without that expertise, I wouldn't even begin to consider something crazy like this. I used to do, as you may or may not know, cruises in one of my former lives. Between my Cronkite years and my Hayden years, I took a ship on the voyage beyond Apollo. It was the last Apollo mission to the moon, and I took a whole bunch of people, Bob Heinlein and Carl Sagan and Isaac Asimov, and Catherine Ann Porter was on the ship. And I took this ship down and we anchored offshore and we followed the last Apollo through the Caribbean, winding up at Arecibo, having a picnic on the banks of Arecibo when the astronauts of Apollo 17 were walking on the moon, to basically try to put into context, even before it closed, what the Apollo era meant to humankind. And then much later, I was privileged to borrow the QE2 to chase the comet Kohoutek.
How do you borrow the QE2?
Well, you know people.
And you pay a lot of money.
No, this was absolutely no money, all right? And I've been very lucky in being able to borrow neat things to do neat things with. That's part of what, I guess...
Well, the only person I could imagine that could borrow the QE2 for no money would be Olumba Obu, not Richard C. Hoagland.
Well, I've done this, and it's in the foreword to my book, and, it's in our biography and all that. Anyway, that was a pretty amazing event because I had Carl Sagan on board, and I had Ken Franklin, who was one of the discoverers, and my boss at the Hayden at that time, he was one of the discoverers of the radio emission from Jupiter. And one of the really neat things was to stand on the stern of the greatest ship in the world and pick up the telephone, because they have these little things sitting back there with telephones to the bridge.
Yeah.
And calling the captain and asking him, could you please, move 20 points for it, sir, so we can move the plume off the comet? And he did. So it's been a while since I've done one of these, and I want to take a group of people, the right mix of people from our audience, as well as some other people, kind of movers and shakers, and take them to the Middle East toward the end of the year to on-site show them with the pyramids in the background the things we have talked about in a more academic vein.
Well, in January there's a great big thing. A boss is trying to talk me into it, and I'm getting pressure from all kinds of quarters right now to show up in Egypt in January.
Well, they'll be there at the end of the year into January.
Yeah, you know what's going on over there in January.
Yes, yes. And I wanted you and Ramona to come with, and I wanted to do the show from there. And Graham's going to be, part of it, and some other interesting people.
I know. Everybody under the sun who's anybody is going to be part of this.
And it's the calendar is predicting it. This is why this ritual calendar that Ron and I have been working on is so crucial. And a lot of things that have been puzzles will come clear. And it's going to be a splendid adventure, and it will also bring some enlightenment to things we've talked about that will finally have real solidity. But in the midst of all this, I get this call from this guy. And then he winds up on your show. Now, when he talked to me, he didn't tell me that you were going to be interviewing him tonight.
He probably didn't know.
So we're talking about a series of interesting synchronicities, and given the lineage of this tribe, and given our ability to confirm this through Robert Temple's work, I'm intrigued enough to follow the signal. Now, do I believe there's a Messiah sitting in Nigeria? No, not yet. But I do believe there's something we should pay attention to here, and that's enough for me. That's what curiosity and science are all about.
Mm-hmm. All right, my friend, let us stay in touch as always. We'll do a show soon.
Okay.
It was just interesting. It really was, as you point out, rather synchronistic that he would have contacted you somehow, and then he showed up on my show. I mean, I blow off a million people like that.
Yes.
Who I would just consider total BS. But there was something about him, and there still is. Richard, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Could God be a black man in a lost tribe in Africa, just north of Cameroon and Nigeria? Well, I don't know. We're going to break here at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we'll be in open lines, and anything you want to talk about is fair game. This is Coast to Coast AM.
You may not agree with everything we say. You may not appreciate our parodies and satire, but we will make you think. Chicago's News Talk 89 WLS.